The following thoughts and opinions regarding this album are strictly of my own personal interests. I am not a professional music reviewer. I do encourage respectful discussion and friendly banter of each episode, but I do not condone and will not tolerate bullying or belligerence of any kind. Well, hey there, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Rate the Record podcast, episode 108. Thank you very much for joining me today. I am your host, Chris, as always, here reviewing music. You listen to it, and then you tell me what you think of the album, too, because that's what this whole podcast and music commentary thing is supposed to be. Before we move any further through this, I just ask you one small favor, that if you like what you see and or hear today, make sure you're doing one of the following or all of the following, because it really truly helps. Like, subscribe, rate, share, comment, and follow. All 6 of those things, a combination of them, or even just one, truly do help, and your support means the world to me. I thank you very much. If you've just decide to do that, maybe you want to wait till the end of the episode before you do that, that's fine too. Just don't forget, one of those things really help, and I really appreciate it. And of course, you can go to ratetherecord.ca to find a whole bunch of ways to do all of those things. One more time, that is ratetherecord.ca. Over there, you'll find all the streaming links, social media links, the merch link, and of course, if you want to join the RTR Club, $3 a month, it is optional, but the option is indeed yours. Early access to episodes. You can request albums for me to do here on the show. You can get a shout out on social media, and you can even just, generally be able to reach out to me and talk a lot easier and just have conversations like that. It's all good. So for $3 a month, price has gone down for the RTR Club. Join that if you so wish. But once again, all of that found at ratetherecord.ca. Formalities out of the way, but I got to do that, especially if you've been here before. So if you have indeed been to the show before, welcome back. Thank you for coming back and hanging out with me and doing this all over again and being part of the show and the community and all that fun stuff. I'm always glad to have you back. Very happy, so thank you very much. But if you're new here, I'm just as happy to have you here. Welcome to the show. I hope you enjoy your stay, have fun, and get into this discussion of the albums that I listen to either today, or it doesn't really matter which episode. Despite the fact I want you here, glad you're here now to check it out. So that probably means that you don't know what I do here on the show. So each week I will choose an album. It could be completely at random, maybe celebrating an anniversary, maybe I do requests, as I mentioned earlier, but regardless, one will be chosen. I listen to every single song on the album right here on the podcast, only in a few second chunks that you'll hear though, because I don't want to get my ass kicked by copyright, but I listen to the entire the entire album front to back. I will let you know my opinions on the songs, on the album, and then of course the bread and butter of the podcast. I will rank the songs and then rate the record. Boom, yay, it's getting easier to do this kind of thing. I've been commenting on that way too often, so maybe I should just chill for a minute. I picked up my can of alcohol to drink, but I realized I probably can't do that just yet. Maybe I should wait, because I have to tell you a bit about today's album that I chose. So it is a brand new album, came out as of July 19th, 2024, and it's shortly after that, just very shortly after that when I'm actually recording this episode, so it's still fresh off the press, but meanwhile, you could be watching this way down the road and means nothing, but that's okay. It's new now. I'm going to review it, so let me tell you a little bit about this album before we get into it. Equals One is the 23rd studio album by legendary hard rock prog rock group Deep Purple. It was released on July 19th, 2024 and was released through Adele AG. The project was recorded at various studios across the world, including Noble Street Studios in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, Headline Music Studios in Harston, Cambridge, UK, Chameleon Recording Studio in Hamburg, Germany, and Ocean Wave Recording in Nashville, Tennessee, USA. For this specific album, the band lineup consists of Ian Gillan on lead vocals, Simon McBride on guitars, Don Airey on keyboards, Roger Glover on bass, and Ian Pace on drums. The record was produced by Bob Exron, whose portfolio includes work with Alice Cooper, Aerosmith, Peter Gabriel, Pink Floyd, Nine Inch Nails, and more. As of this episode, the album has been given a couple of scores, including 4 out of 5 stars from Classic Rock Magazine, and 8 out of 10 from Blabbermouth. The album has spawned 3 singles: Portable Door, Pictures of You, and Lazy Sod. Well, there you go then. Their 23rd album, Equals One, is the one that we're dealing with today. Deep Purple, obviously very legendary in the prog rock scene, considered one of the godfathers of heavy metal, if you believe it or not. If you're young enough, maybe you don't know that, but chances are you know them in some regard or respect. if you've ever tried learning guitar at any point in your life, chances are you tried learning Smoke in the Water, or like with that, or like Iron Man by Black Sabbath, or anything like that. But it's definitely one of those bands. They're definitely a legacy band. I know I've had problems with legacy bands in the past on this show, especially if I do like the new music reviews and everything like that. So, I mean, sometimes I can be surprised. Sometimes it's not all that great. But today we're going to find out what I think about this new Deep Purple album. Do they still indeed have it? Because I like old Deep Purple stuff. I run a classic rock radio show on the weekend. So, I mean, like, I know of their discography. So let's see if this one holds up. Starting off with song number 1, Show Me. All right, song number 1, Show Me. Well, they certainly showed me that they're still ready to go, even at this age and everything like that. So there you go. The instrumental run is fun enough in the song. I really like it, how it's just kind of like running on that one note, but then you get the few other notes jumping in and everything like that. I like that. I always think that kind of like songwriting can sound really cool. It's a good amount of energy to get everything kicked off on the album too, so it's nice to have this as the very first track. I'm going to say a blanket statement, and I know this won't be popular, and there's going to be a lot of people who don't like me for saying this, and that's okay. The vocals just aren't doing it for me, but like, listen, I get it. Ian Gillan is 78 years old. He's not going to sound like he did when he's younger. I understand. He's been around for decades. But I'm still just judging it by what I hear now, and I think his vocals mainly come off as like weak and super nasally. And as much as I'm criticizing at the same time, it's like I understand it. Again, no one sounds like super perfect when they're this old. So I'm sorry that I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that, but it's just I don't think you can get around it. That doesn't necessarily ruin the album. So don't worry about that. It's just a critique I have about it, but it's fine. One thing I really like about this song, going back to the song in general, this happens a lot on this album moving forward, spoiler alert, but the call and answer style of synth and guitar solo kind of matching with each other, I think that was a really cool feature to have. And then it's just this idea that it gives like a different level of texture and life to the entire section, so that's really fun. But they're dueling arpeggios too that they do towards the end of the solo. I thought that was really cool. That was really entertaining. So you're giving me a lot to enjoy in the first track. We're off to a good start. This is good news. There's 13 songs on this thing, so, you know, got to keep the life. Well, you got to start it off really exciting like this one, and you got to keep the life going. So let's see if they can do that with song number 2, A Bit on the Side. All right, song number 2, A Bit on the Side. I think a lot as compared to the first song, like it still has that really fun energy, kind of building everything up, which is nice because we're still early into the album. And that run of instrumentals that we have in the verses, I really like. You got the double kick drum going along with those like lower chuggy guitars. I think that's a nice punch to keep everything moving along. And there's a lot of going on in this song too when it comes to like the solos and the fills and everything like that. We get a keyboard solo in there, a lot of drum fills that happen in the middle of the guitar solo towards the end there. There's a lot going on in here that for some reason, my first couple of listens, I didn't really like pick up on too much, even though they're very prominent. But in my last couple of listens, including right now, it's something I'm noticing a lot more, and it made it a lot more enjoyable these times around than the first couple. So it's always nice to have these things, and that's why a lot of these songs warrant like second, third listens, just because sometimes you're not paying too much attention, especially on your first listen. You got to find all this good stuff, and boom, you start to appreciate a lot more about it. So this song's a lot of fun too. I'm glad that we're still here in a very fun, energetic area. Still at the beginning of this album. And I know things are going to change a bit. Things could speed up, slow down, get quiet, get loud. Who knows? But we got to find out regardless. So let's move on to song number 3, A Sharpshooter. Okay, then, song number 3, Sharpshooter. And there we go. There it is. We finally had that Friday night bar band kind of rock that I figured I was in for at some point on this album. I mean, that's not necessarily a terrible thing, but this does sound like kind of like a Friday night bar band rock type of thing. Like you get those dudes on stage while you're just sitting around drinking beers. This is what I imagine, like in front of a crowd of like 20 or 30 people type deal. There's just something about the like just the mood and feel of it, especially like the verses, everything like that just made it really feel that way. I mean, the song has life to it too, don't get me wrong. I don't think it's nearly the fun energy of the first couple of tracks, but one thing I do really like, I think it's like some of the pre-choruses that just feel so big leading into the chorus. The chorus is a little lackluster, it's not fantastic, but the pre-chorus, they just like add a whole bunch of like synth and everything behind it, just layering to make it feel really huge. So I like that build-up moment. I like that kind of thing. But I don't know. It's not the greatest song so far. It's not terrible, but I feel like it's just slumping a little bit, you know? Well, let's see if it gets any better from here. So let's go with song number 4, Portable Door. All right, song number 4, one of the singles on the album, Portable Door. And one thing I noticed pretty quickly about listening to the song over and over again too, is the smaller drummer parts that are happening throughout the song, like these little trills that are in the groove that really made it interesting enough for me to want to go back to it and hear it again. So I really appreciate that kind of like subtle stuff in the background. Really cool. But it's definitely at this point now, I know we're only 4 songs in, but at this point you realize like this album's on a pretty similar trajectory sound-wise. Not that that's necessarily a terrible thing, but I'm hoping at this point like that there'll be something to change it up a little as we go, something to make it like a little more exciting, because if you just keep getting the same thing over and over again, you're going to start losing out on certain things, you know? But I mean, there's plenty of songs, so that opinion could change pretty quickly. I don't want to spoil anything right now, so we will move forward with that. But with that said, though, realistically, there's nothing wrong with this song. Not that I would say. It's just your typical kind of generic rock runaround type of track. So people are still going to have fun with this one. They're still going to enjoy it. It is catchy, so it's got that going for it. So let's move on now to see how much this album could possibly change, or maybe it doesn't. Who knows? Song number 5, Old Fangled Thing. All right, song number 5, Old Fangled Thing. Now, did I not just say that I hope it gets more exciting? It's funny because when I actually originally wrote that note, I didn't write that in spite of song 5 because I hadn't heard it at that point yet. So it's nice that actually happened, because the pacing in this one picked right up and it actually made it pretty fun. So that was nice to be able to get through. And it does have its slower, almost like bluesy feeling slow down moments at certain points. But I feel like it fits pretty decently, so that's always good to have, and like just how smoothly it can go over. And there's also some fun passages in the bridge, like even behind like the synth solo that happens a little later in the song. It's always cool to hear that kind of stuff. It's very creative. I enjoy it. So this was actually by far one of the more fun tracks on the album so far. It's all good. Like it's kind of giving me that energy that the first couple of tracks had, so that's always good. Now let's see how long we can ride this kind of momentum, or maybe it's time to slow it down, maybe it's time to speed it up, but hopefully it still stays pretty good. So song number 6, If I Were You. All right, song number 6, If I Were You. I'll be pretty straightforward with this one. Probably one of the weaker entries on this album so far, at least up to this point. I mean, the emotional side of the instrumentals felt a little monochrome. The chorus was fairly forgettable in this one. I feel like the only things that really mattered in this track, going through the entire thing at least multiple times too, was the solos that could happen, or like one of the main solos that happen in the middle of the song, some of the harmonies towards the end, because other than that I feel like this one fell a little flat. nothing really caught me about this one as compared to other ones, and it has nothing to do with it being a slower song, because again, that's fine to have that change up. But I don't know. This one just didn't have any sort of catchable factor to me, so I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but this one fell flat, so we're going to move on and hopefully get something a little better out of it. So song number 7, Pictures of You. All right. Gonna pause it right there because obviously it bleeds right into the next song. So that was song number 7, Pictures of You. When I think of the song Pictures of You, I think of The Cure and the album Disintegration, because I really like that song. I really like that album, but it has nothing to do with this. I just wanted to say that. Song number 7, Pictures of You. It feels like a slightly more energetic version of the previous track, and the chorus is at least a little catchier this time around, so it does have that going for it. That's good. And again, the solo is where a lot of my interest lies in a song like this, especially because it's also a dual layered solo, like just 2 guitars stacked on top of each other. I think that definitely helped it. I do like it. It's fun. Other than that, it's kind of feeling like what made this album fun in the first half is slowly starting to fizzle out. I do have faith that there are songs in the back half of this album that will kind of like pick up that fun energy again, because I mean, we still have 6 songs to go. So I am ready to be proven wrong. That's fine. This song wasn't necessarily terrible either. Like I think it was better than what was it? If I Were You. It was definitely better than that one for sure. So I'll just put that out there. We move on and see if it gets any better. Song number 8, I'm Saying Nothing.
I'm saying nothing. I'm walking. I got nothing to share that wouldn't be too surprising.
Alrighty then, song number 8. I'm saying nothing. Well, I'm saying something because, I mean, I kind of have to. I'm reviewing the song right now anyways. This one definitely brings back more of that heavy bluesy rock energy that we've kind of gotten earlier in the album. And I mean, it was apparent from like the very first second right off the bat, because I mean, it's a very cold open kind of catches you off guard. So boom, make sure you're paying attention. And I think one thing, especially with this song, that I found is it's always the songs now that have those dueling synth and guitar solos that are just going back and forth between each other and everything like that. I think those are the most interesting and fun ones so far to me. So I guess it's very telling on how my song rankings are going to look a little later. But I don't know. We'll see. Anything could happen at this point in the list. That's just always fun too. It's a good drawing point. That's what I'm trying to get out here and everything like that. What's not to like about it because of that? And I will say that this does kind of remind me of Sharpshooter a little bit, and I know I didn't say the best things about it, but I think this one actually acts better than Sharpshooter in many different ways, so as much as it reminded me of that, it works better. Okay, I'm obviously stumbling on my words in my head here and can't form proper sentences, so I might as well just move on to song number 9. My brain, right here, is a lazy sod. What does sod mean?
That's alright, 'cause I'm a lazy.
All right, song number 9, Lazy Sod, and yes, I did look it up while the song was playing. Yeah, apparently it's like English slang for just a lazy, not lazy, but like an annoying, unpleasant man is essentially what it is. So there you go. I mean, whatever, I'm Canadian, but I'm not like, you know, the Queen's English type deal, so I don't know what the hell a sod is. I've learned something today. But anyways, the song, though, is what we're actually talking about. There's far more energy in this song, so it's been something of a pleasing build-up to the slowdown that we got a few tracks back. It's just kind of been building back up to this point. Pretty nice, actually. And that there's a keyboard solo in here, too, that's kind of in the middle towards the end a little bit. Actually, yeah, it's probably closer to the end, but I digress. It's by far the most throwback moment on the entire album up to this point. Because, I mean, that style of solo really reflected really well on their earlier material in their earlier days, like things I remembered hearing on their previous albums and everything like that. So it was a really fun moment, not just for this track, but for the album as a whole. So it's good that I was hoping things would pick back up. I had faith that the B-side would still have some good stuff on it, and this was one of those songs. This is pretty cool. And this was one of the singles, too. I can see why this one would be a single. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed this one. So let's see how good these last 4 tracks can be with song number 10, Now You're Talking. And as it fades out, song number 10, Now You're Talking. So the last track we just did, I mentioned that they had those throwback moments. Little did I expect to turn on this song and have a sudden deja vu, like they were about to break out into like Highway Star or something like that. There were definitely rhythmic structures in this song that definitely resembled that one. And I mean, Highway Star is a classic, so if you got me thinking about one of those songs, then you got something good on your hands, right? But I will say I'm not sure about that screeching falsetto that Ian brings out like the first minute of the song. It's like right around the 1 minute mark. I mean, I get it if you're feeling the track. I get if you're just on it and on the energy and you're just going with it. But I mean, that part was pretty rough to get through. I don't think there's any denying that. I don't know. But funny enough, speaking of that kind of like falsetto screech, he also has moments of those in Highway Star. So there you go. Just bringing that back to the original. But I feel like it was far better suited to younger Ian than older Ian at the very least. The song still had a lot of fun life to it though, at the very least. So I will say that it did have something good going for it. And it just made the track a lot better to get through. So again, there are still good fun tracks to have in the B-side of this album, which is nice. We only have 3 more songs, so hopefully it can hold out. Let's keep going. Song number 11, No Money to Burn.
I hear a blackbird sing goodbye.
All right, song number 11. I'll just pause it there since it's just fading out anyways. No Money to Burn. We're definitely back into that realm of that bar band kind of music I mentioned earlier. I think it was back in Sharpshooter that I mentioned it. Definitely getting that feeling again with a song like this. And I don't know, something about the overall composition and even some of the lyrical content in this one feels a little tacky at some point, so it was much harder for me to grab onto and find terribly interesting. I think the last 30 seconds, I would say, was probably my favorite part of the song, and not because it was almost over. I just like this kind of like bit of a heavier, just repetitive outro that just then ended on the fade out. I think that sounded cool. I like that. And I know that's mainly just a fill to other parts that were happening in the song, but just it sounded cool here. I like the repetition of it. So that at least perked it up a little bit for me. But other than that, just, yeah, I don't know. This one felt a little tacky, not hanging on too well to this one. So if that one didn't catch me, maybe the next one will. Song number 12, I'll Catch You.
But you're just beyond my reach. Anytime you want to jump,
Song number 12, the penultimate track, I'll Catch You. I will say, because I do listen to these albums at least like, you know, upwards of 3 to 4 times before actually doing this review. And at first I wasn't big on this song, I'll admit that, but then there were certain things that I ended up liking that were like popping up upon each listen that made me enjoy the track a little more. One of the things I really pointed out too, it's quieter layers in the background, but again, if you have multiple listens, you start to unlock different things. There's certain little guitar and string layers that kind of pop up in the track, and they add these like really nice little textures, and they're just kind of like thrown in on different places and everything like that. I think it helps add more intrigue to the track overall. I like those kinds of things, especially when it's just not just one straightforward thing. Some of these were just like little touches and like sounds to kind of insert through the guitar. I like that. It's cool. Just kind of, again, adds more to the story of the song overall. Even if they're like, you're not lyrically following, you can follow along a story musically too. That does work. But aside from that, though, I still think that this track overall kind of misses a little bit. And I get it. Not every track needs to be high octane. You don't need to necessarily just be blowing it out the door every single goddamn song. But there's just something about this track that feels like, I don't know, the album is trying to be over at this point. Like, it felt like it wanted to be the last song. It's like, there's not another one, is there? Well, I mean, good news, bad news, depending on how you look at it. There is one more. So let's see how they decide to close this one up. Song number 13, Bleeding Obvious. And it's also the longest song, too. 5 minutes and 50 seconds.
Give it a rest, it's not that complicated. Return, we'll see if you learn.
Whoa. Well, that's an ending right there. Song number 13, Bleeding Obvious. Well, those notes I had in the previous track about, trying to be over and you don't need to be high octane. It feels like they really took those notes to heart and just went all out with this final track. And, that's a good thing. It's a good thing. Not that you have to listen to me or anything I say, like, who the hell am I? But I mean, like, damn, they really went for it. So that was actually pretty cool. They definitely had way more fun with the instrumental compositions in this track too, touching on a few different moods and styles as it moves along, which really made it entertaining to see what happens next. And there's also portions too that, despite the whole song essentially just being in 4/4, it still has like a lot of the proggier feeling moments in it too, so that was a really nice addition. Considering this album didn't have too many proggy kind of moments, which I don't know, like maybe they're not capable of it anymore, maybe they just wanted to be more laid back, I don't know. There was a song in 7/4 back there somewhere, so that counts, I guess. But still, nice addition in that, I should say, pretty cool. And I mean, aside from parts where Ian sounded like he was like struggling to really push out some of the intensity in his voice at certain points, it honestly wasn't that bad of a track. I mean, it's a good track to sandwich the entire album because we had a really good, fun, energetic starter and a pretty intense ender too. So it just kind of closes that book really nicely. And I like the way everything wrapped up. And speaking of wrapping it up, I mean, we could just talk about the album as a whole for a minute. And to anyone who's been around on Rate the Record, especially if you watch the new music reviews and everything like that, with legacy bands, I tend to feel like it's just a poor attempt at some sort of relevancy and just kind of coming back just because you feel you can doesn't mean you should type deal. And though this album doesn't really touch anywhere near the peaks of Deep Purple's like deeper catalog and everything like that, this actually wasn't nearly as boring or as laboring as I thought this album would be to get through. Because I'm thinking to myself, like this band who was essentially around in the 60s is coming out with their 23rd album. Like, what could they possibly have left to give? And, it was fun in some aspects, lagging in others, but still, like, far better than I anticipated, so I will say that much. It's a very nice feeling to be proven wrong at that, regard. And by far nowhere near my favorite personal, like, in their entire discography. But this is a decent enough addition this late into the game. I can say that much. I was surprised with how well this album was done. So, hey, that's good news, right? For any bad thing I've said about the album, there's probably already people like typing angry comments and such like that, but it wasn't that bad of an album. I'm happy that I was like wrong about it. It's fine. That's cool. But now we get to find out a whole bunch of other things, like how wrong I truly am and everything like that, because now with the numbers, boom, wait, hold on. They're not there yet. I got to cast them in. Okay, there we go. Numbers. 13 of them to be exact. I have to rank the songs now, just another part of the podcast. Least favorite to favorite, not so great to great, worst to best, however you want to cut the cake. It's time to cut the cake. Time to celebrate a birthday. There's no birthday, just the release of a brand new album, I guess. So there you go. That's what the cake is for. I will shoot these off pretty quickly and let's just see what this list looks like. I'm curious to know what yours looks like too. So let's see if we match up. So 13, If I Were You. 12, Pictures of You. 11, No Money to Burn. 10, Sharpshooter. 9, I'll Catch You. 8, Portable Door. 7, I'm Saying Nothing. 6, Now You're Talking. That's a weird contradiction right there. 5, A Bit on the Side. 4, Old Fangled Thing. 3, Lazy Sod. 2, Show Me, and 1, Bleeding Obvious. So the bookmarks of each end of the album, the first and last, were my second and first favorite tracks on the album. Again, just like, those were some pretty solid tracks. Just enjoyed them. You can see all of the scores right there next to all the songs. Now it's time to do the math, and it's time to get rid of those numbers really quickly, because it's time to rate the record. It's exactly time to rate the record. There it is. So we got to figure out, how much did I like this album? I said I was impressed by it. It was better than I thought. So what does that mean exactly? Well, to the Rate the Record enthusiasts, you can at least still take some solace in knowing that I B-tiered the album, because what else do I do on this show, apparently? But it was exactly 73.84% is what the score came out to. I personally thought this was going to be somewhere in the C, like maybe mid to low C tier. I was like, this couldn't possibly end up being like a super fun record at this point. But again, proven wrong. So we got a straight B tier album. That's pretty solid. That's pretty good. Way better than anticipated. So good on you, Deep Purple. 23 albums later, and you're still releasing some pretty damn good music. So there you go. And just get on out of there now. Flip it off the page, because it is now time to wrap up the show. Thank you very much for watching and hanging out with me and listening to this album. If you did indeed listen to this album, please do me a favor. Go down in the comments of wherever you're listening, audio, video, doesn't really matter. And please tell me what you thought of this album. Do you like it? Do you hate it? How would you rank the songs? How would you rate the record? Do you disagree? Do you agree with me? It doesn't really matter what you want to say. I want to hear it down in the comments. So please go ahead and do that. And make sure you're doing the whole like, subscribe, rate, share, comment, and follow thing. Again, the support is amazing, and I really appreciate it. And I like doing this stuff, and I will keep doing this stuff, but your support just kind of encourages that even further. And of course, you can do that all at ratetherecord.ca, the streaming links, the social media links, the merch, and of course, the RTR Club for $3 a month. If that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and check it out at ratetherecord.ca. Okay then, so that's the end of the episode. Thank you very much for joining me once again. Come back next week, because we're diving back into the late 80s. No, it's not necessarily a classic rock album, but I mean, it is a very noteworthy band worth pointing out in the alt-rock scene of the late 80s. I don't want to give it away, but there's your clue to go on. So until I see you then, go listen to some awesome music, and we'll meet up again real soon. Take care, friends.